Yeah, close.
I apologize in advance if we get a very loud recording, stopped notification or something wrong with Wi-Fi, very old technology, but still doesn't work out most of the time. All right, so very excited for our next and final panel for today. This is going to be around improving, how do we improve patient lives as med device companies, and how do we engineer high quality med devices efficiently with technology with AI. So love to have the panelists introduce themselves. I'll pass it there and we'll pass it back.
Hi, I'm Ken Arnold. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been involved in medical device for nearly 30 years, all in therapeutic laser systems, essentially, at various companies. Had some wonderful successes and some big flops as well and all that. The main point of how I think about AI is how is this going to help a doctor or a surgeon? I'm mostly involved in surgery and surgical type of things. What can it do to help this get a better outcome? Or how can it help benefit? And so I think really I probably actually think more in the rules-based stuff rather than a real learning system. It makes me wonder if after you teach a robot to do the surgery, what exactly do you want it to learn after that? Makes some things to think about. Also, in terms of AI, it's something that we all know about any kind of system with inputs and outputs. A garbage in, a garbage out. And so we really have to think about that since it's a learning system and the quality of the data, right? Data is at the core of all these sort of processes and analysis. So those are the ways I think about AI and how they can help. They can definitely help in product development. I know we're going to kind of chat about that, but there's definitely ways where it's already making a big difference.
Hi everyone, I'm Dave Petrich, and I spent my whole career within the medical device and in vitro diagnostics area. I was the quality system head at Roche Molecular Systems and responsible for design quality assurance and regulatory submissions and working with the FDA on inspections and things like that. I've kind of, my pathway to what I'm doing today really started off as an R&D chemist and got involved in the pilot plant and scale up, worked in production, and then the last 10 to 15 years has been in quality and regulatory. And I'm at Landrich Group now, and we work with companies kind of big and small and really help them develop like a roadmap for interacting with the FDA, finding out what the regulations would apply, helping them with clinical and also analytical studies so that they can ultimately get their products on the market. AI has definitely caught my attention, and I go to Regulatory Affairs Professional Society, RAPS, meetings, and AI is the featured topic. But it has so much potential on one hand, and there's a lot of concerns on the other. So I think it's really important to strike the right balance in terms of utilizing the potential, but also making sure that it's not going to introduce unintended consequences as well.
Hi, I'm Dave Mishra, and I'm one of the founders of Quadrite. I run Quadrite. But in my prior life, I used to be at Hewlett Packard company that corporate headquarters in Palo Alto. It is Tesla's office now, if you drive by the 3000 Hanover Street there. But anyway, I was part of the program to look after HP's sustainable competitive advantage. The group was called Product Generation Group. It was focused on how do you enable a giant company like that to bring a product to market faster at lower cost so that it improves your margin. And we started this company, many of us, my case here, used to work back at HP, so the core group was still there. And with the idea of bringing those kind of sophisticated way of thinking about addressing the problem to the general marketplace. In terms of AI, the way I think about it is AI is a good intern to have, but it is never going to be a doctor. don't want it to be conducting surgery on you, but you want to be by your side all the time so that it helps you in doing your work better. So going back to the earlier panel, we had a question that we discussed about whether it's going to replace us in our current work environment. Probably not. It is still very constrained in what it can do, and there are a lot of weaknesses to it, but it is beautiful in like we were talking about in the earlier panel, assimilating tons of information which is impossible for a human being to. You will spend probably 150 years to assimilate that kind of information, which it can do in probably a couple of hours, and helping the human beings like us to follow the proper path, guiding us, and hopefully make our lives better.
Thank you, Hannah. So this is the blanket question topic we want to talk about today in this panel. How do you build a great product? And I'd love to hand this question to everybody, but I want to hear everybody's unique perspectives. Ken, I'd love to hear how do you engineer a great product efficiently? What are some challenges or stories, right, associated with that? With Dave, I'd love to hear how you build a high quality product, ensure high quality as you're building it, but also when it's released to customers and it comes back, right, the whole cycle, the lifespan of the product. And with Deb, I'd love to hear, how do you enable operational excellence, right, when you're building a great product, making more products rather than, products that never been scrapped, and ultimately save time, save money, right, higher margins. So this blanket question, whoever wants to jump on it with your perspective first.
Well, from my perspective, the key to a great product is how it performs in your customer's hands, and is it achieving what it needs to be a great product. And really, that's where all of it's at. I'm not sure how AI exactly is going to help figure all that out. I think that part of it might be so the other element of that is you've got this great idea, and now you want to develop a product, and you need to bring that to do product realization. How I do it now without AI is I work with people that I know and trust and are exceptionally good, right? Just like everybody would do. You pick your A team and you go develop it, and there's no AI. But I've already seen one area of just a common product development process where AI is fully doing the job, and that's in industrial design. Okay, what was working with industrial design in different images and half a dozen meetings and however much money you spent. You could literally buy lunch for your team, sit in a room with the television, and go on and use some ideation software, and you can do the whole thing the way you like it, really, really quickly. So right there, that's taken out an element of design that you didn't need. You still need mechanical and electrical and software, although the AI is actually helpful. SolidWorks has AI stuff, OrCAD has AI stuff, a bunch of software has AI, so they're helping the engineers design and develop it. So that stuff is pretty, it's going to be very helpful for them. My thought, I don't quite have as optimism that Deb has here and what's going to happen, because what I see is if you just take a CAD program, SolidWorks, they're pitching it to them that this is we're not taking away your creativity, we're doing the mundane tasks for you. And we'll customize to you. We'll learn from you, which is fine. You give your thumbs up and thumbs down on their ideas, and it shapes you. But I'm telling you, as soon as SolidWorks has 1,000 of you, with all that data and input, you're going to have to scratch your head and wonder why, how are they going to transform this? They're going to need less. And it can do more. I mean, it might take a long time, and I don't know how that would work out, but that's my thought of kind of where it's going. So for the time being, you try to use it as a tool to help. If it helps with ideation, great. If it helps the engineers do a better product, that's great. I think it also has a lot of value. I mean, maybe it's more rules-based than really learning, but in your product, you're sustaining engineering of your product and the life cycle of your product after you've developed it. And how you analyze and track all the data, I think there's a lot of value there that would help the quality overall, and just help you do a better job. So I already see one spot of just a standard product development process where AI has already taken that function almost fully. I suspect others are going to kind of fall in there. So I don't know how long it'll take. I want to use it to the advantage for any kind of new idea and new products, and we'll do that. But I think ultimately, for some things, it's going to be smart enough to pretty much do it for you completely.
Thank you. So how do you build a high-quality product? My answer would be, it takes a village. Like, there isn't one single person that's going to design and develop and manufacture and commercialize that product and put it on the market. So I think they mentioned something about processes and procedures. That's really important. But I think really having a strong cross-functional team that represents the different disciplines. And I really like Quadrite's approach as far as lifecycle management. The FDA has a concept that they call total product lifecycle management, and they really believe that, and they really want to see that. When you're developing a product, for example, the design control processes and risk management processes are not like separate; they're really integrated, and very important that you're using your risk management to provide inputs to your design, and then you're iterating your design to address what some of those risks may be. When you're doing like a risk assessment and you're in the R&D stage, it's all theoretical. I mean, it's projections, you're estimating, and then as soon as the product is being manufactured, as soon as it's in the field, you're collecting real world data. And I think the expectation is that you don't design the product and then you're done. You really have to treat it, for its entire life cycle. The other things that I think are really important too are planning and developing strategy. Like if you're working with medical devices, it's a regulated industry, and you really need to know the roadmap of what other predicate or comparator products are on the market. How are they performing? The FDA offers a pre-sub process. You can ask them any questions and they'll give you feedback. It's really important to get that feedback from the FDA to know what regulations you have to navigate and what the requirements are, having good customer product requirements, and then delivering to that. I also think it's important that your process isn't discontinuous, where R&D or engineering develops it and they throw it over the wall and manufacturing has to try and figure it out. It's probably really best if you have like a core team that stays involved through the whole life cycle, but also after the product is introduced to real customers and you're collecting data.
Actually, my view is that most of the companies develop high quality products. If they didn't, then the market will shut them down. So however, the challenge lies in how do they develop high quality products? Because you can develop high quality products in multiple different ways. One way is you keep working, reworking, reworking 6 times around before you get the high quality product out. Another way is you think ahead and have a very well synchronized product operations so that the first time through the high quality product goes out. So both cases you're developing high quality product, but one case you are getting higher margins, the other case you might be losing money. So that's what the difference is. Medical device companies, yes, they have to develop high quality products. Otherwise, FDA will create problems with their quality issues because it impacts public health. But the reason for their existence is not to pass FDA regulations, but to make money. That's why they exist. So how do you make money? By having your entire product operations run more efficiently so that you are able to, let's say, today you're producing 4 products a month, you produce 5 a month, and it costs you today $100 to make a product, it costs you $80 tomorrow to make that product. You have improved your margins, you have improved your bottom line, you're profitable. So to give you real world examples, all of these things are not really technology dependent. You don't need highly developed technologies. AI will help you in certain extents, but it's more of thinking, how you think about the issue is involved. I'll give you a real example. This is years ago now. I was walking around at a customer site and stopped by the VP of Engineering's office. Some of you here might recognize that, but please keep quiet. And I was asking him, what's the challenge you are dealing with? What's bothering your company this month or now? He said, well, the problem that you are dealing with right now is manufacturing always takes a long time to make the product happen. So suppose we made a design change to the product. It takes manufacturing 4-5 weeks to deliver that product. So I was asking him, so how do you go about making the changes and connecting with manufacturing? Oh, we make the design change and all that, and we start an ECO, and the ECO gets approved fairly quickly, then it goes to manufacturing, and manufacturing takes 4-5 weeks to make it happen. So, okay, so when you were, I was trying to paint a picture to him saying, okay, just imagine when you're working on your design changes in your engineering offices, nobody else in manufacturing, which is, let's say, based in Singapore, was aware of that. So one fine morning, you started an ECO process. Within 2 days, the ECO got approved, great. And manufacturing was surprised by that change. So it took them 4 or 5 weeks to make sure that the supply chain is established, the right inventory is there, the right layout of the factory floor is there, etc. So you look like the blue-eyed boy of the company, and everybody blames manufacturing. So what if you change it slightly? That the moment you started thinking about a design change is needed, start your ECO process. And obviously, ECO process is not going to finish in 2 days. It will still take slightly longer because you're starting it very early. But while you are doing your design work, manufacturing already knows what is coming down the pipeline, and they're getting ready with the supply chain, they're getting ready with the factory layout, whatever it is that they need to do. So when your ECO finally gets approved, probably within 48 hours, manufacturing is ready to make. Oh, I had not thought about it. So that is what we mean when we say that entire product operations has to be considered when you look at a product. Quality can be delivered in multiple different ways, but to deliver it in a way that improves your bottom line, you have to look at the bigger picture.
Thank you, Deb. And I have a follow-up question for Ken about customer satisfaction, the point you made earlier. But real quick, does anybody have any questions for after my follow-up question? All right, cool. So Ken, I wanted to follow up. You mentioned that your metric for building a great product is customer satisfaction, right? In this case, it's the doctors, the surgeons, the patients. So how do you manually, and what's your strategy or process for identifying what the customers need, want, and then ensuring when you deliver the product that the customers are satisfied? How do you do that?
The old-fashioned way, by talking to the doctors and interfacing with the customers and engaging them as much as possible, trying to bring in evangelists. So most of my career has been quite innovative products to market, and so they're different. And and so you need a little, people don't just warm up to things different all the time right away. So we work with our customers first and foremost. There's two elements to basically a product that's going to be successful. There's more than two, but basically the doctors have to like it. It has to be some value to them, not necessarily financially. And then financial's a separate value. There has to be a financial value basically to them and the facilities and work all that out. But the doctor has to have some level of comfort that what you're offering is actually meaningful in some way. And you're never going to know that unless you talk to them. And one of the things for a quality product, when you bring something new to market, I have met very few people, or probably none, that somehow nailed it perfectly the first time. That's kind of rare. So you launch it and you don't know. You talk to your 6 or 10 or 20 or 50 customers and it looks good, but you never really know till you get it out in their hands and everybody's using it. And so at that point, the data collection is critical in how you do that. And so some companies, years ago, they had disjointed systems. So how did you figure out what's happening? You just launched a new product. You go talk to the service team. You go talk to the clinical team. That's how you find out. You didn't find it out on your computer necessarily. At least at these smaller companies, you kind of went around and did that. But the idea is that if you can aggregate that data, and especially as you grow, because growing a little, that walking around doesn't really work anymore. And so if you can capture the data, the customer data, the field data, and get that information, then that gives you a great chance to quickly iterate as needed, and it's or address if there was some design flaw in there or an issue or whatever, get on it right away and fix it. Or the the feedback is there's some ergonomic issues we didn't think about, and there's some ways to adjust it, or whatever it is. But you have to gather and organize that data, and actually the system, like Quadrite, is a good way to do that. We set up our first startup set up as primarily for quality, as a quality system, really, for ECO, basically all the quality system basic functions, but also could gather field data, and you can integrate it, and it was an easy way to kind of see what's going on so that you can basically make adjustments. And so I think that I'm not sure, in that case, that's not a lot of AI in that, and it's really you gotta work with your customer and make sure that you're putting, you've got good feedback from them, good support from them, that what you're doing is meaningful. And I think that's critically important. Now, you can't then follow up with a product that you made sloppily, right? Or whatever's got all kinds of problems or reliability issues, or it's too expensive. So all those things are obviously critical, and those need to be embedded there. But number one is it actually delivering something for the doctor, in this case, for the surgeons? And is it economically viable for the hospital? You nail those two, you're in great shape. Then you do have to build a high quality product, and you're going to have to change it and stay on top of the feedback and all the competitors that are going to be coming after you real soon, because you just did something that a whole bunch of people right behind you. So all these things are helpful to make sure you're delivering something that's really meaningful.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm going to pause real quick for audience questions. So I'll ask you, if you work in the medical device or hardware space, and you want to ask, the strategy process, or if you work with customers, that are medical devices, that's a great time to ask. Questions? Yeah.
Ken, right? Yeah, so we were talking about getting customer feedback from the field. Like you said, there's always iterations. And I was just wondering, with a product launch, before official launch, are there opportunities to get that feedback prior to official launch?
Definitely. And the worst is when you get it right before the launch. Because the launch is going to happen, but now you've discovered something that you really should have paid attention to. So you try to work with them right from the very beginning. So a lot of the stuff that I've been involved in is quite new and different. So there may be some technology that's being developed, new technology group prototyped, but as soon as we can get it to some doctors, they can't treat anybody with it, but they can come to the lab and they can look at it, and we can talk about it, and we can cut grocery store meat or whatever, do simulations and keep them in the loop, and then you're doing your animal work, and you've got, you're not gonna be able to talk to everybody, but you've got a handful of core people, and you just kind of grow that as much as you can to get as much feedback as you can. But it doesn't, there's been products with 3 or 4 people, and it was, 80% or 90% right, and there were other products with, 20 or 30 people's input that were, 70% right. And so you can't always tell. You will find that you'll learn something. As soon as you get it out in the general hands of the kind of general folks, you'll definitely learn stuff. So we try to learn as much as we can early, such that we don't show up at the, we're packing up to head to the trade show, and the doctor calls and says, hey, by the way, I've got a big problem with your thing. Try to avoid that as much as we can, but we know the second it gets out there and people start using it, someone's going to call right away. They used it completely different than we thought anyone would even think of using it. And it's like, what are you doing there? And, maybe our training needs to be adjusted or what have you, but you just got to stay on top of it. Get your customer in right from the beginning, and some trusted folks that you can work with, and then increase that scope all the way through to launch. And then when you launch a product, for surgical products, the volumes aren't terribly high, but if you've been working with half a dozen doctors and 20 of their buddies know about it, you may have some nice customers right out of the gate. There are people, in some starting places. So those folks will help you with the development, but they also are going to be using it for real now, not in a study, really chugging through the daily routine and is it delivering? They'll also be the best people to call you and say nitpick stuff because that's what you're asking for, feedback. So just have your customer engaged as much as you possibly can. I mean, that's...
there could be some strategies too, like soft launch, which is maybe not a full-scale launch to all customers, and I think there's some other avenues too to collect feedback that is maybe not like a registrational or clinical trial, alpha or beta testing, or quite often prior to clinical trials, or you might have like human factors or usability engineering. And I think there's ways to collect data, while you're not in full-scale manufacturing. I think everybody knows that if you have a problem in the field, that's the most expensive type of problem to solve.
Actually, Dave, I had a follow-up question for you around that as well. Without naming names, do you have a story or an example of when, say, maybe there was feedback or a customer complaint? How did you handle and overcome that situation, communicating with the rest of the team, manufacturing, engineering? How did that story go?
Okay, well, I could think one story. I was at Roche, and we have blood screening products, and blood screening products are used to screen the national blood supply to make sure it doesn't have pathogens and things like that. And we had a contract with the Ministry of Health in Brazil, and they had a couple evaluations that failed, and they were giving up on the product. And I think one really good example of what worked well was that we had a cross-functional team. So we had development, we had quality, we had medical scientific affairs, and we went down to the customer site to see what they were actually doing. We did a root cause analysis, we reproduced their problem, we designed studies that they could actually execute, and as it turned out, they ended up passing the qualification, and they ended up using our product. But I think it's important to know that if you're in a technology company, nobody knows the technology better than you do, and I think it's important to have confidence in your product and to really utilize your full team and not give up.
Absolutely, thank you for that story. We're running a little low on time, so I'm going to ask the last question. And this is similar to the last panel. What are your pain points that you're feeling today that you feel AI would be a great use case for in solving this pain point that you feel your teams are feeling? No is a valid answer to it if you don't see a use case. And then I want to tweak the question, same question for Deb. What are the AI solutions that you're already developing in light of the opportunities you're seeing, the problems that you're solving for your customers? Right? Yeah.
I'll go first. I think AI has a lot of applications in the clinical trial area, and the cost of clinical trials is increasing dramatically, and the complexity is going up. And there's a lot of pain points as far as recruiting patients and monitoring the data, monitoring the records. There's maybe a lack of adherence to the clinical protocol or to medications that should be taken. And AI could be an extremely powerful tool to help in those particular areas. And there was some discussion earlier about what if it replaces a person? Well, I don't really think that's going to happen. AI is rarely the sole determinant in making a decision on health and safety, for example. It's kind of funny, but the FDA really embraces AI technology and the use of the AI technology. There's a lot of guidance documents that are out there. There's a lot of forums the FDA is sponsoring to kind of shepherd in AI. But the FDA is not going to make a health and safety decision using AI exclusively, but they may use it to curate a lot of data to make informed decisions, but it's not going to replace the person itself.
Well, one pain point for startups is how to associate your venture with AI in some way. With all the buzzwords, how do you claim that your whatever gizmo you're working on is somehow AI? So I think that from a practical standpoint, as I mentioned in the product development process, like straight away, the next time we're doing industrial design, we're using ideation software. So right away, there's a simple thing. I think that it probably, as someone mentioned on the other panel, it's likely to come in chunks for certain functions. That's how it's kind of being developed. So I think wherever it could be useful. And then the pain point, I guess, is around getting people to accept it. Most of the folks that are doing engineering stuff would appreciate, at the level it is right now, it does a lot of nice features in all the various disciplines. So it's I think, a positive tool, and people would see it that way and utilize it that way. I don't know how long that would last, but that's sort of, it would really be, I don't think it would be too hard to integrate it. I'm also more involved in smaller companies and startup to 100 million kind of range, so bringing new things, maybe it's a little easier than a larger organization, but I'm assuming it's going to come in chunks, and I think that it's not really AI, it's not really learning necessarily, but rules-based analysis of your product and your quality system and your field feedback and your customer complaints and your service records and all those things. That's sort of something that's already here today, and we want to use it. It's not entirely AI, but it's a pretty smart way to think about your business and actually look at everything holistically so that you can make good decisions about what you want to do. But I think that generally the engineers that I work with are generally fairly open about the idea of using AI tools and kind of excited about it. And so I think that piece is okay. Except for the except for the artist. One of the funniest things, not funniest things, but ironies of AI that's actually really happening, it's starting to happen in the engineering side. I figured that's all rules-based. Like the engineering rules are set, so that seems like an obvious place where it could do that. But actually, they're hitting the creative side of things for music, for art, for ideation, and it's sort of an interesting area and writing and stuff. It's getting a lot of exposure, and it's actually on the creative side. So the pitch to engineers that we're not taking away your creativity is a little bit dampened by the fact that the tools that are out there are actually taking away other people's creativity, or that if that's their job, the machines are doing it quite well.
Yeah, we have started taking small steps, like I was mentioning earlier, in including AI technologies to help some of the things that we do for our customers. One of the things is, earlier we were talking about customer feedback through the complaint process, and tying that back into engineering, for example. So this is where AI's classification and correlation comes in very handy. So we have actually created a solution where it could classify your complaints, so you know what some of your top complaints from the customers are. And if you have fed it your SEO processes, let's say, it could correlate that and give you some insights. For example, it might say, oh, in the month of January, somewhere between January 10th and 25, you got a lot of complaints in this area. Let's say a CPAP machine that you are selling started beeping in the middle of the night. And by the way, around that time frame, you changed the firmware on your device as well. So it could provide that insight, which is immediately helpful to the product development team. Oh, okay, so let me go dig into that and see where it caused that problem. One of the things we haven't addressed it yet, by the way, this thing, if you would like to give your feedback, Mike will probably show you there, and we'll be happy to get your feedback on what you think and what ideas you may have. The other area that we have been thinking about is more of product feedback, let's say. Who gets the most feedback on the product? It is the sales team that is out there talking to the customer regularly, right? But how often do you have any mechanism at company in place that conversation, and sales guy might have a casual conversation with the customer. If it's a complaint, the customer will obviously file a complaint. So that's a structured conversation. But a customer might say something to the sales guy in a casual conversation. That's not yet a complaint, but it's bugging him enough that he mentioned it to the sales guy. So sales guy probably records it somewhere, But how often there is a closed loop established between that is fed back into engineering. So the engineering is aware, oh, let me think about it. It's not a problem yet, but might become a problem. So how do you close that loop, and how do you provide an easy mechanism for all that kind of unstructured information getting captured at the front end is fed back to the back end for better product?
Absolutely, thank you so much. And speaking of demos, so yeah, folks, if you brought a laptop with demos, we first have your demos on the table, or the table's here, in the back right here. Thank you to our panelists and speakers for speaking and sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us today. Can we give them a quick round of applause? We'll transition to our last networking breakout now. Thank you all for attending, and we'll be sending an email with the survey. We appreciate you took the survey. But yeah, thank you all for coming. Hope you all had a good time. Thank you.
Thanks.
Did it turn out okay?